So kind of in this video, this first one, I wanted to talk about kind of the big thing, which I'm seeing kind of a lot of people saying on social media. Now, it's kind of about should you be really productive, or should you kind of rest, or what should you do with this lockdown? And I'll tell you, I'm not here to tell you which decision you should make. I believe the answer is somewhere in the middle. Because I was saying, I was doing an update for all the collaborators we've got. We've got about 17 of them now since we've grown, kind of working on the second show that we're doing. And I was saying kind of like keeping a balance between productivity and resting is important, because if you rest too much, you'll find that you won't rest at all. I think a lot of people, I've found that. And if you work too much, which is something that I'm quite guilty of, I think, is that can be equally as damaging. So it's really important to balance your time, I think, and kind of with that stuff. At least that's what's worked for me. A big thing is a lot of people get quite anxious at the moment, I think, mainly because they're quite upset kind of their uni courses have finished early. They're struggling with being isolated. Like, for instance, with me, I've got no one here to talk to, so that's been really difficult. Same as kind of it's I suppose the point is people are struggling, and I'm in no position really to tell you what struggle is. I don't think anyone's in that position to tell anybody that kind of stuff, but I think I can relate quite a lot to kind of what struggle is. And in my experience with struggle, particularly in starting a theatre company, make no mistake, I mean, it's a lot of the news that will be coming over this year. A lot of messages I get from people, kind of, particularly when we took on some new people, is a lot of people were really proud, really like, wow, that's great. Wow, you guys are doing this. You're doing this. You're publishing books. You're doing research. You're casting shows. You're putting together this and that. And of course, this is lovely to hear. But of course, no one does anything alone. Which is the first thing I always say is there's an insanely talented bunch of people involved. There's, like I said, 17 people. There, and there are incredibly far more, who I hope to work with in the future. But those kind of 17 people have got something really special about them. They, and certainly without them, none of the progress kind of that we would have. I'm getting one of them messaging me at the moment, that's why I keep looking. None of the progress we'd have would be there. And I know that we playfully battle because I say, if it wasn't for you like that, and they get turned around and it's like, no, it's with them. I mean, when we did Infamia, that show went disastrously wrong to begin with. Something I've never shied away from saying. But it's because they stuck kind of with me, and I stuck with them. We looked after each other, and we made something really wonderful. And that led to kind of this company. We're all working, and I get so kind of proud seeing what people are doing with it. It's quite something. But yeah, that was really hard. There were really hard times with starting the company, and I really try not to shy away from that. I mean, I recall last year in the summer when kind of these big milestones were coming. It was a really difficult time for me, especially was trying to manage this project. People had left the uni who were in the show, so I had to reorganize the show. There were disasters. I never directed anything of that kind of. Never really directed anything before, to be honest. You never got into that chance because I failed many times before that. Used to make these posts saying, "Oh, this is coming," never came. I think some people who see this might attest to that. But failure's okay, and that's what kind of I said in the documentary. Is like failure's kind of a bit of a taboo word sometimes. I think mainly because, especially in primary schools, they either don't want to admit it's a word, or on the contrary to it, is people use it as kind of a doom and gloom kind of thing, when in reality it's neither of those things. It's I get things wrong all the time, and kind of even with this show we're doing, when coronavirus hit, I was worried about, oh, you are kidding me. Oh god. Oh, motion sensor light, people, this is I did not time this. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so oh god, that's how little people are actually in here, that the lights just turn off now. It's like, oh, he's filming that. It's yeah, but where was I? Yeah, it struggles is kind of a hard is a thing that difficult to kind of pinpoint because I think it's all relative. And I could talk about stuff I kind of grew up around and kind of what I went through when I joined the army, which was quite hard. Without going too much into that, coming out of the army, kind of trying to start going to the life of performing was even harder. But kind of keeping it specific to kind of starting a company, and that is, there's no shame in kind of taking a break from it. And there's no shame in kind of admitting that there's struggle going on, and things aren't necessarily so easy, and and everything like that. And certainly with kind of the work is the thing that changed everything for me, was learning to trust people. Now I should say that I don't mean people as in people you meet on the street or something like that. You probably shouldn't run into that. Good Lord. People around you, because there's a lot of good in people, and if you ask for help, and I suppose maybe that's the humility that I didn't have once upon a time, is asking people for help and being vulnerable, in that sense. Not vulnerable as in emotionally vulnerable. Here's my memoirs, read them, won't you? Not necessarily that, but in the sense of is saying, things are going tough for me at the moment. It's not that easy, And I think that really helped. And doing that is, we're doing the second show, it's night and day. And I joked to Ben, who played John Kane in The Family, who's now playing kind of the lead in our second show. I said to him, I went, isn't it hilarious that our experience of bringing this show through a global pandemic, is easier than doing the first one? And he went, it shouldn't be like that, probably. I agree with him, So kind of depend on people around you and kind of utilizing that support and reaching out, to kind of your friends. And sometimes, of course, people have, that's easier said than done. But reaching out, even if it's music, like relying on something, there's no shame in that. I have kind of the luck of when running this this company, and starting it and bringing it ready, so it's ready to go into the professional world next year, is I have so much help going on at the back. And what's quite weird is for me is people largely attribute a lot of what kind of goes on to me directly, but in reality it's so many things going on behind the scenes, so many great people kind of, and depending on them makes things go faster. Because I tried to do that first project as a one-man band, in the literal sense, and that's when it didn't go very well. So I had to and then I learned to trust and kind of people who are passionate about it, who care about it, and bringing the right people into kind of your business that makes all the difference. And that's the reason we've been able to do so much in 6 months, from books, and have this sold kind of internationally, and then kind of research as well, stuff I can't even talk about, but look at workshops and shows and projects for years to come, and all that stuff comes from kind of came from I suppose admitting that things weren't going so well, and I think that made all the difference for me. And I suppose my point is, just with struggles, it's okay to kind of not get it right. You know what I mean? It's okay for it not to go to plan, because it's a really hard time at the moment, and I ain't trying to preach or anything like that, but I've known a lot of failure in my life, a lot of failure. I've lost a lot in my life, without put the violin music in here, but I'm proud of saying that, because learning from it is made all the difference in my life, and kind of this company, particularly starting the company. Working on it since March of last year, but now, officially kind of running it for 6-7 months. It's made all the difference. It's my passion in life, to see kind of all these people working together, talking about we're going to do stuff in years and years to come, and amazing stuff we're working on at the moment. Every storm kind of ends, and this one will end as well. Coronavirus will end, and not to say that it's going to be easy. It's certainly not going to be solved overnight, but kind of depending on whatever we can, or whoever we can around us, and I think just not being afraid to ask for help if it does get a bit rough. And there are plenty of places, plenty of people around us, a lot of the time. Sometimes not so much, but then we find hobbies, passions, and those are things kind of cultivate. But yeah, don't be kind of worried if you're not as productive as you want to be, or you're not as whatever, because that's fine. It's something like this. It's okay if it doesn't go to plan. yeah.